It's a lovely morning to be out in the garden. You know, every month we come and talk to Jan McNeilan. So Jan, you always have something interesting. What are we going to talk about?
Well, this is one of the fuchsias that we wintered over.
It's beautiful.
It actually started to bloom. I didn't think it was ever going to do that. But right now I'm seeing curling leaves and there's some aphids on it. So sometimes they'll get mites as well, especially with the hotter or late summer weather. But I'm going to take these down, hose them off. If that doesn't do it, I'll use some insecticidal soap on them, and you have to do a contact. So that will hopefully take care of them, and we'll keep these going at least through the late fall.
But it's not the end of the world. A couple of insects, you shouldn't panic or anything, but you want to take care of it before it gets widespread and grows over to other plants.
Right. So the curling leaves are what's going to tell you something's going on here.
And then I love that you have the plant, this fuchsia hanging basket, right over your hydrangea, and it looks beautiful. And I noticed some hydrangeas in my neighborhood that are kind of wilting because they're not getting enough water.
Well, this one's getting water because it's right over the top. So we water these every day in the heat, and then this hydrangea gets the runoff. And when you're watering pots, make sure that when you water it enough that the water's coming out the bottom. You don't just water the first inch of soil and go from there, so that you know you've soaked the whole root ball. What I do is I water, then I go back and water again.
So you know
let
it's
it soak in, and then get wet, and then it'll go even deeper.
So that's why this looks so nice, because it does need a little bit more water. But, you know, these hot days are kind of windy too. Any tips on watering on these hot, windy days?
Well, when it's windy and you've got, say, an overhead type sprinkler, you're going to lose a lot of water. And also transpiration of the plants in the middle of the day, you're going to lose some. So early morning watering or in the evening, and I know that diseases happen more in the evening, but you know, you got to water when you water, so, you know, when you have time. So
right.
It's best to water when it's cooler, and so that that plant will take in that water and not lose it as fast as you're giving it to it.
Right, and good deep watering versus a shorter time?
Right. Just dig down and find out how you water like you always do. Dig down and find out how deep did it really go. Am I really watering this plant?
Well, all good tips, but you know, we always have to go out to the veg garden and see what's going on out there. So let's take a look at that.
Okay.
Jan, I love that you have flowers here with the vegetables. So these zinnias are just tremendous.
They are. I planted them for cut flowers for my daughter's coffee shop, but they're from seed from my friend across the street, and they're saved seed. Well, guess what? The most predominant color seems to be this fuchsia purple color. So that's what most of them are. That's what happens when you save seed. You're not always sure what you're going to get.
Yeah, but they are lovely.
They are. Yeah, no, they've turned out well. So it worked out to fill that one completely up.
And then what's going on with the chard here?
This is leaf miner. These are actually beets.
Oh, beets, excuse me.
Well, it hits chard too.
Okay.
So this is just a little fly that lays its eggs on the surface or in between the layers of the leaf, and then the larval stage mines literally in between the leaf surfaces and makes that ugly looking mess. But it doesn't affect the beets. It doesn't affect... It will affect chard because that's what you do is eat the leaves. So the floating row cover, had I put that on here before the leaves started to come out, we would have kept that out of here. Okay,
so a good tip for next time if you do have the problem to put that row cover over.
And there's nothing you're going to do about it.
You can't spray or anything.
No.
And you have quite a bounty here, so
well,
tell us about
this is just a little bit. This is a Delafave green bean, which at that size is still tender and absolutely wonderful.
Really?
They come from New Dimension Seeds, and it's one of my favorite beans.
Nice.
And here's a purple
fun.
bean that when you cook it, it's just a green bean. When you cook it, it turns green.
Oh, so pretty though.
And lots of cucumbers this year, lots and lots. And tomatoes are starting to come on. And here is the indigo rose tomato that we talked about. That has the lycopene that's supposed to be so good for you. It's not the best flavor tomato. It's very mild, but when it's one of your first tomatoes, you don't care.
It's delicious.
And they're really pretty to have it.
Maybe we should go back to the tomato because you wanted to talk to us about late blight. And so I noticed that you don't have too many leaves on the bottom of this tomato.
Well, late blight is a disease that'll come in. There's an early blight and a late blight. Usually what we get is late blight. And you'll notice the bases of the leaves at the base of the plant will start to yellow. Your fruit will start to blacken. And we've had years where it's been really bad. So far this year we're pretty good. When the nights get to be warm, extra warm, is when it's a perfect environment for it. So what we do is get some good air circulation at the bottom of the plant, and that's one of the reasons that I trim it out.
Okay. So then that would really help, because there's really nothing else you could do,
There
because it's
really
so
isn't.
environmental.
Well, if there are some sprays, there's some fungicides that you can use, but that you got to do it right when it's time, and most people don't. And for the most part, you just hope it's not a bad year for late blight.
Right. And then also about raised beds and containers with fertilization.
Well, keep in mind when you're fertilizing and it's a raised bed or a container plant, that when you water, you're running that fertilizer through.
Sure.
And so after a while, you want to make sure that if you're going to maintain that fertilizer, whether it be organic, chemical, whatever, you need to reapply in order to keep the level where you want it.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Well, always so much good information. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you next month.
Okay.